Oh, I see that we've got preachers on the chat. Everyone wants to be the teacher. Either the teacher or the child. They want to be teaching other people, or they want to be the child that's taught. Please teach me and let me follow you, or I am the teacher, follow me. These are the games the mind likes to play. You can see there's an argument about something to do with that. Oh, this is right, I'm right. No, she is right, he is right, we are right. But who is all these people you're arguing with but yourself? It's all yourself. There is no definition of what you are. You are everything that's happening. So the person you are arguing with is your own mind. No, there's somebody out there, only apparently in the world. Apparently, ultimately it's all you. Where do you ever, in your experience, where do you ever find outside of you? Even that arguing or those words are inside of you. They are you. All of it's you. There's never outside of you. When do you ever experience outside of your experience? But yet you're so convinced there's an outside of your experience that you're walking through a world and that there is this place that exists where you are not. But yet all you ever experience is your own experience. You never experience this place that's outside of you. You watch it on TV, but you don't realize that that TV is appearing inside you. It isn't outside of you. There is never outside of you. Dong, dong, dong! Crap! But what about all those people I don't like? What about all those people I like and I want? It's you! Can you ever long outside of yourself? So if you imagine someone wonderful that you really want to have to yourself, all to yourself, they're appearing in you. You're not actually experiencing outside of you. When do you experience outside of you? The mind can imagine difference and outside, but that's it. That's it. But it's your own imagining. So you have this thing that you really want and you really love, but it's your own feelings of love. You're only imagining your own feelings. You can't imagine outside of your own feelings. So that love that you long for, that you believe is outside of you, is actually your own love. Isn't that fantastic? I could be a preacher on a stage in a church. He's like that. And like ba 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 ba, and everyone's like, praise the Lord. Except there is no Lord to praise, so at that moment we'd have to be like, praise myself, praise myself, praise myself. But then that would be a massive crash of Western identity. That's always like, I'm a terrible person. I'm a bad person. That's why I have to buy all these things and pretend I'm lots of things that I'm not. So one person just said, why is it so important that I see the longing is inside of me? Because the love and hate will still arise. No, it's so completely different when there is that energetic shift. I do not hate people anymore. I can get annoyed and irritated by humans. Humans are irritating sometimes, but I don't hate anyone. How can you hate anyone when you see it's all yourself? But I have the responses of being human, but then it just goes. When I was identified, I hated, because I really believed that I was better than other people, that they were worse than me, or more stupid than me, or less capable than me, or doing stuff to me. But then you begin to see it's all just one dance. And in the moment you can get annoyed and angry because people can be assholes sometimes and life can be an asshole sometimes. But then there's this deep knowing that it's all just one dance. There's no biggie. There's no biggie. Even with the things that seem like they're a biggie, they're not a biggie. They're not big or littly, actually. They're just seen as happening. Underneath, there's this energy just is collapsing into presence, so just the complicated stories and ideas that used to come up just don't come up. You know, moments of feeling like a past life, moments of feeling these things or thinking these things like a ethereal whisper, but it's nothing anymore. Nothing, nothing, nothing. The only important thing is what's happening. That's what's important. What's happening is love. This is love expressing itself. A lot of people think that what I'm talking about is intellectual and an intellectual recognition of oneness, and it's not. It's an energetic movement back to presence. Then the character still's the character. Lisa can be beautiful. She can be a bit of a wally. She can get angry. She can be happy. She can think people do bad things, but there's no belief in it. She can say people do bad things, but there's no belief in it. It's just energy flowing. She can get annoyed with people when they do shitty things, but that's just what they do. And they also do beautiful things, because with one comes the other. And nobody's a definition of anything. I remember when I realized that when I was, younger. When I was young, like 6 years old. I remember realizing that my dad wasn't any particular thing. I was just joking when I said I was 6 years old. I was just saying that just as a joke, because it's funny that I would have realized it at 6 years old, and then I'm bragging to everyone like, at 6 years old I realized. Yeah. I know. Sometimes you have to clarify that, because otherwise then you get quoted when you're really telling a joke. But I remember when I was 6 years old, not when I was 6 years old. I remember when I was younger, the realization that my dad wasn't a fixed person. That he was multiple different beings. That it wasn't even multiple different beings, he just changed. And with one person he could be one way, and with another person he could be another way, and there wasn't this real him. You know how people say that you wait till the shit hits the fan and then the real person comes out, like the real evil person comes out. There is no real person that comes out. There's conditioned behaviors, and sometimes when the shit hits the fan, then there can be like difficult energies that come out, but that's not who they are. There isn't a fixed entity. So if somebody's in a family where they're unhappy, or in a situation when they're unhappy, their unhappy side might come out, but that's not who they are. That, like on the personal level, I mean, it's not who they are. Ultimately, who they are is life, is this boundless energy. But on the personal level, the human is always changing. The separate self wants to always claim it. This is what I am, this is what they are, and make it something solid, but they're not. You put someone in a different situation, and yes, they'll have the same patterns, but they're always changing dependent on what they're in relationship with, because there is no fixed self. If you watch me regularly, I'm such a different personality lots of the time, not because I have multiple personalities, but or maybe I do, I just don't know. But because there's just different energies running through the body, and you're in contact with different people, different energies pop up. Haven't you noticed that when you're around some people you're a certain way and other people you're a certain way? I feel like an empty vessel that's just responding to whatever's happening. There's a response, and that response is always different. I think when the self is really strongly there and present, it's always trying to make you into something. So it's trying to hold on to a behavior that you've liked of yourself in the past or been in the past. And I think as you become more and more sensitive, and especially if you're an empathy personality, which is what I am, then you become more sensitive to the energies that are in front of you. I sometimes feel like I can pick up on people's thoughts and feelings, but at the same time, they're not outside of me. So I don't like to say that too much or claim that too much, because how is that not you? We want it to be other because we want to be different or better than the other. But if someone in front of you is experiencing insecurity and you pick up on their feeling, it's as much your feeling as their feeling. Like, whose feeling is it, ultimately? When we're talking about it, we could say, okay, that's Shirley's feeling. But for me, it's like I'm always different dependent on what I'm interacting with. And I feel so sensitive to whatever I'm interacting with, so present and sensitive to it. It's like the wind. It's like, what would the wind be without everything else? What would the tree be without everything else? What would the sky be without everything else? It can't exist. The sky is the particular colour it is because of everything else. Because of this gas and that gas and this reflection. The same with the tree. We need everything. And the wind. The wind blows and then it changes its force and its direction depending on that, what it comes in contact with. And although these bodies have particular structures, as you become less identified with those structures, then yeah, there's going to be a pattern. I'm always going to look and kind of act within Lisa's pattern, but there's a freedom to really freely interact with whatever you're meeting without judgment, just in innocence. I often can't tell if somebody's having resistance to me, if it's me or them. Like, so say if someone comes and I talk and there's resistance, it just manifests as a feeling of a barrier that's happening between us. What I then do is I use that and then I point that out, and normally the other person says they feel it too. And who cares who it comes from? You want to find out who it comes from so you can blame the other, so you can judge the other, so you can be better than the other, just because that's the nature of these silly skin forms that we're in. It's good to be able to define it, so to say, are you experiencing resistance? And then they say yes, and then we can define it a bit better, but it feels like resistance in me. There's nothing outside of me. It's all happening in my one energy. But that doesn't make me better than anyone. That doesn't make me any more enlightened with anyone. It makes me exactly the same as everyone else, as vulnerable to this as everybody else. So that's not much fun for you guys to look up to. When you want to be better than someone else, when you want to be more than someone else, then you want a spiritual teacher that says, yes, I'm enlightened and I only ever feel this and I am like that. And then you have something to aspire to. You have something to judge other people to. Always judging. It's funny, when I'm in, most of the time when I'm out in public, I have to muzzle Khaleesi because I'm not quick enough to, I have very good control over her, but if another dog jumps on her or another dog comes out of nowhere, if I drop her lead or something, then she doesn't always, but she can bite other dogs. And because I live in quite a small town, like I'm always in contact with other dogs. But she looks immaculately behaved, so it's shocking for people because she looks very well behaved when she's on the lead. Not all the time, sometimes she can look a bit naughty. And then also it looks I kind of look badass. I walk along, this dog with a muzzle on, and I kind of look like I'm a real badass. Like I clear the pavement, I'm walking along and I see people clear my way. And because she kind of looks like a wolf, people are already like overwhelmed by what she looks like. But I can feel their judgments, but it's not their judgments, it's both our judgments. It's like as much my judgment as their judgment. You gotta have a really flexible mind to hear what I'm saying. Because there is no self. Whose judgment would it be? And when you become so sensitive, you can feel and hear other people as if they're yourself. But they're not other people, they are yourself. But I tend to name it as mine. So I can often name it and express it as if it's mine to the other person. Because it is mine, but just not mine as Lisa's. I mean, what is Lisa? But I kind of know that that's what they're thinking and feeling too. But it's not my job to tell them that. But I'm sure it might be a little funky for them if I say this or that. It doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters is presence. And then life takes care of itself. And it might be a personality thing that I'm so sensitive to other people. And I'm still learning it and understanding it, the sensitivity to others or to myself. It really doesn't matter what I say. I could be saying rhubarb, it doesn't matter. I just sit here and talk, and then you either resonate or you don't.